Hey everybody, sit down around the hearth, grab a frosty mug of ale. Welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern, where we discuss all things Azeroth. Hey everybody, welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern podcast number 35. Tonight we're going to talk about our weekend raid, and Dordn is back as our special guest. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is JobUi.
Hi, I'm JobUi. I play a Worgen Frost Mage.
And Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei, and I'm still a Fury Warrior.
Epistle up north.
I am still a Prot Pally. That has not changed.
And Tapachino is ill, so she won't be with us here tonight.
That's changed.
Feel better,
Yeah.
Cappuccino.
Yep. But Dordn is back.
Hi, I'm Dordn. I'm a Draenei Beastmastery Hunter.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So, JobUi, let's start right off. Let's start off with talking about our raid weekend.
All right, well, on Friday, we started with our new lockout, leaving with 5 bosses in normal. And we went through all 5 bosses, no problems there. And went on to heroic and got through the first 2 bosses, Scorpion and Chronomatic Anomaly, and ran out of time on Friday. And then we came back on Saturday, took down Trilliax, and then went on to take on Croesus. And we hit the wall on Croesus, but we improved quite a bit over our previous attempt on Croesus, and improved over the course of the raid. I think we finished off with our best attempt at about 15% left on the boss when we
12.
died. Was it 12? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
one attempt.
Well, that's
got that
nice
good.
and close.
That is pretty close, yeah. And I think, Durag had mentioned this. I think the thing that was just stopping us there was we didn't have the full complement of our normal raid healing team. And, some folks were absent, and we had some people filling in those spots, and we were just having trouble keeping up with the heals. The DPS looked good, but I think if we get our normal healers in there and we keep our DPS up, I think we'll get them down pretty soon, probably next week.
Yeah, I noticed our DPS numbers were a little lower than, like, say, Friday's DPS numbers. So we were missing a couple key DPSers, which that happens. It's a variable complement each time we do this, but being that we got to 12% this time, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but it's different because the mechanics are happening faster in heroic, so we're doing a lot more moving around, so that affects our DPS numbers quite a bit. And I think that plays into it to a certain extent as far as like what our actual output of DPS is, especially as we're getting used to the speed and the pacing of the heroic version of Croesus as opposed to the normal version. And I think that'll improve. Plus, players are going to be getting more artifact power and all that over the course of the week. Probably step up a little bit from where we were at this week.
Yeah, I think so. So, anybody got any comments they want to make on our raid weekend? Lorelei?
I think we did a really great job on Friday. I wasn't there again Saturday, but my Saturday should be pretty good for the next couple of Saturdays. And I think we did a really good job on Friday. We made a lot of good progress, and we seemed to be getting the bosses down a lot faster.
Yeah, and I found the Saturday raid, I think it was good, in that it was one of those times when you have to fine-tune your work. It's good, it's solid, we have enough heals, we have enough DPS, we have tanks that are strong enough to handle the situation, but what we haven't got is all the pieces together. So either, we probably could have been successful if less people were taking damage, if people weren't running around as much. So that's that kind of the fine-tuning work, the really being able to be at the top of your game and get the best out of any tune that you've got. But we don't always, we're not always a group of total perfectionists, so that's okay. We'll get around to having, with that little extra healing, little extra DPS. I think we'll not have to be totally perfect.
True.
I think the key is making sure you don't tunnel vision. I see a few of the same people that tend to tunnel vision a lot. They'll get focused on one mechanic and then they'll miss the other ones. And the key is just to not do that. Have your head on a swivel, so to speak.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, when you get into the higher dungeon or the higher raids, like they were saying, it goes a lot faster. So those, where you used to be able to kind of sit back and watch it happen, now it's going faster. So they have to kind of get used to that faster pace. And then once they do, then that becomes the norm. So when we go on to the next one and it's even faster and more damage, that throws you for a loop. Because there's really not a lot Blizzard can do to these things to make them different. It's the same fight.
Yeah, but I think there's more swirlies on the ground that you have to deal with, and it's really important that you're doing as much DPS as you can before each section breaks, because that's the problem our guild had too. It was just all of a sudden a lot more damage than we were expecting.
Well, I was very impressed, and I must say congratulations to everybody in our raid team, because the first couple of times I had done this with you guys, there were a lot of open swirlies. And I think JobUi mentioned that somebody had told him that there's a swirly for everyone. I'm going to throw my little tagline in there. Swirly for you.
Swirly for you. Right? Yeah.
But there are a couple extras on top of it, so you're always going to have an ad.
Yeah. Now, we were getting those. We were getting most of those until we started losing people.
Yeah, very true.
Yes.
And there was a few missed here and there, but we cleaned up the ads pretty quickly, and the ads weren't really, at least initially, the thing that was doing us in. Exactly. There was time that I got zapped by one of the beams coming down one of the roads because I was turned around trying to kill 3 or 4 ads that were at the back of the bridge and stuff, and I couldn't see the beam coming, and didn't realize it was about to hit me. And then I think I got whammied by something else right after that and got killed. But, it's just going to take a little, I think it's just going to take a little practice, like you're saying,
Because Blizz has just thrown things in there that, it's not necessarily predictable which side he's going to, I forget the name of that thing that decimates half the rate if you're standing in it. But, that's a little more random. The timer's a little bit off, so the swirlies might be coming same time as one of those is happening. And the bridge is not all breaking in the same predictable fashion. There is a predictability to it, but it's a different one, and it's a little faster, and you have to be, paying attention to multiple things at once. So I like that we're actually getting better at calling it out. People are saying, I need someone to tell me which way it's going to go. And I think that's one of the reasons we were adapting and being successful, because we were communicating. We were talking as we were going and figuring out how to help people on the fly.
As far as the beams go, I actually was doing a little research while I was at work last night. And there's an add-on, I haven't tried it yet, called Croesus Assist. And what it does, only one person in the raid has to have it. And when you start the fight, whichever side that the beam starts on first, it'll have a little button for you to push, whether it's left or right. And once you hit that button, then it has DBM will tell you what side the beam is going to come down on the next front.
It shouts it out or something?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I was looking it up last night. We might have to look into that.
Yeah, definitely. Croesus Assist, huh?
Yes, I believe that's what it was called.
So one of the things I did notice, and JobUi brought it up, is that as people die off, the swirlies stay with the number that is in your group. So if you have 3 people die, there are going to be 3 swirlies on the ground for sure that aren't going to get anybody in it, unless they overlap somehow. Because when it got down to the end, I think there was the 2 tanks, 1 healer, and 1 DPS alive, and then all 25 swirlies showed up.
Oh my god.
And game over.
Pretty much.
Were people also standing in the I think it's called, oh, it's not slam. It's whatever it does that the tanks have to stand in, the 2 fist slams.
I've noticed a few people in there from time to time, but not so much that it's been as bad as the beams.
Okay, cuz on heroic those will definitely one-shot you.
Yeah, and with the beams, one of the things that makes it, like, because like we said, the timing thing, in normal, it's a 4-second cast on the beam. And it's only a 3-second cast in
Yeah.
heroic. So, I mean, you're looking at, I mean, that's only like, that's a quarter less time to react to it than you normally have. So it's really, people got to be on their toes for it. But like you said, we'll get used to the timing. And then, what's funny is that we'll get used to the timing on heroic and it'll become an old hat like it usually does with these bosses as we get used to them. And then we'll go and do it on normal and it'll feel like everything's in slow motion, Yeah.
Or like what happens is, wait, we still have half the bridge left and we killed
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Croesus was our progression. We did really well. We spent probably an hour and a half on it. And
Is it that long?
I think so, because
Yeah.
because we came in, you guys had already down the first 2 bosses,
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
and we skipped the one going around in the courtyard.
Yeah, the Spellblade.
Spellblade, yeah. We
Yeah, we're
skipped
not gonna
her.
not
and
gonna
went
try
right to-
her for a while.
Yeah. So I think with a few more additions now, I know I just got a big DPS boost because I finally got that other golden dragon on my my artifact weapon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just got it. I mean, that was like
Which one was that?
38 million. It's the new circle, the new lower one. And you got to go around and you finally get the dragon where you get the Cobra Commander.
Yep, the sneaky
Yeah.
snakes.
Yeah. So I just got that today. So we're gonna see a good DPS boost with mine because that's huge getting that one. But oh my gosh, does it take forever and so much artifact power to get?
Yeah, it really does. Well, I'm currently at 47, or like rank 47 on my frost weapon. I've been pushing hard. I'm trying to get to the first Paragon rank. I want to get that Concordance of the Legion Fall Paragon rank in the new system. But man, it's a lot of artifact power. Like, to get 48, it's 182 million artifact power. So
Yeah.
it's
No
steep,
small
man.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on 46 right now, and I really want to get my last trait too, but it's not even because of more power. It's so I can tame the Feathermanes.
Right.
Well, you were saying on Croesus you need to have, everybody has to have like a minimum of 450k DPS. It's not so much the DPS but the actual damage. But if they're hitting 450, they should be doing it. And I was doing 473 consistently with Croesus, and I was giving it my all. I was hitting everything I could when I could. So I'm going to be interested to see if I'm over 500 easily.
Well, how many were we at? How many people were we at?
Let's see, on Saturday, I think we were really close to 24.
We had like 24. Okay,
but Friday we filled. Friday we actually had somebody that finally showed up and was like, "Sorry, we're full."
Yeah,
and we had to hold them back.
Yeah. Well, at 24 people, it's 415k DPS, or they need to do 150 million basically over the course of the fight. So because DPS numbers don't necessarily reflect your total damage, so because you might have lulls in there and get a lot of damage, but the overall average has to be about 415k DPS per player.
Yeah, and see, and I was still, even at 473, 474, whatever I was at, I was still like number 11 or 12 on DPS, so there were still quite a few people doing a lot more than me.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about my Frost DPS these days. I do have lots of room to improve, but I'm starting to feel pretty good about it. I'm getting used to it.
And I do want to apologize to everybody in our raid group because I normally, when someone goes down and I've got a res ready to go, I call the reses out. I looked down and there were several people down. Spiffy was down, a bunch of others, and I just went, get JoBui up. And JoBui, your DPS is actually a lot lower because you're switching specs.
Yeah, it's
And
like I'm like 5 or 6 right now.
it was the wrong choice, and I had somebody whisper me and say, I was doing a lot more than JoBui. You should have got me up. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm just so used to JoBui being up there. I don't even have to look. I just say his name. Oh, he's down. Get him up.
What
You know.
you know what it partially is that I'm not usually one of the people who goes down early. And so and on top of that, in the past, like I've been one of the top DPSers, in the raid for a long time. And so when you see me go down, that's like early in the fight, or it's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
So
Well, and then you're one of the few people that actually announce when you go down too.
yeah,
Which actually really helps me because then because I can recognize the voice and then look over and see. Because normally what I got to do is look and see who's on the DPS charts, who's up there, and then look and see, okay, is he one? No, he's not dead. Okay, who's
right.
there and who's dead?
Well, and I think sometimes too, like I've heard you in those instances where you're trying to pick the person to pull up, if we have some people down, and like I can hear it, as you're trying to decide that you're looking at your DPS meters, like trying to figure out who to pull up, like you're comparing your DPS meters to who's still alive and who's dead, and like I mean that's that's got to be pretty distracting.
Oh, yeah, my DPS pretty much stops when I'm trying to do that.
Sure.
But it's essential because you just can't have anybody yelling it out, because that's where
Right.
you run into trouble. And we've talked about this in past podcasts as having, one or two people just clearly being the ones more or less in charge. Because if somebody yells, "Oh, get me up," and it's a new healer, they may just think, "Oh, somebody just said to get so and so up, and I'm getting so and so up," and then we could have saved that for a tank. Because I get my wife all that. She'll yell down to me, because she uh, plays in the room above me, and she'll yell down to me, so and so went down, and I'll look and see if we have a battle res, and if we have two, then then it's not a problem because I like to save one for the tanks because nothing's gonna take us down is like if we lose the tank.
Yeah, usually I don't even say nothing when I go down. I mean, when I go down, you'll probably hear me say something like "ah, poop," but usually I won't say anything because if it's that critical of a point in the fight, I'm like, save it for the tank or a healer,
Well, yeah, and then I have a counter up that tells me how many we have, and if people go down and there's only one there, I want to save it for a healer or a tank because let's face it, they are very key people in keeping a raid going. Without the heals, we all die off, and without the tanks, we all die. They'll one-shot us.
It does depend on the fight, though. There's some you can get by with one tank for a while anyways, but not many of them.
True, for a while. And we've done that. We're like, oh, there's 30 seconds left. One tank it for 30 seconds. And that's a long 30 seconds.
Yeah, you feel every second.
So, Epistle, what did you think about the whole weekend altogether?
It was good. I did think it was... it felt good to start further on at the beginning because it feels like, oh yeah, we'll get to those bosses on heroic, and so that was good. But there was also a little bit of confusion, I think. Which boss we're taking now and which direction we're going in. That doesn't help when you're the tank and you're kind of running off in some direction to the boss maybe that you're in the habit of getting to next when it's been decided otherwise or we've come to some other conclusion. So probably good for us to keep clear on that so we tanks aren't heading people off madly in all strange directions. But that's not a big deal. I did think that it was good to see some tunes get geared up. People who hadn't run with for a while who joined us who managed to get some good loot out of the experience.
Yeah.
It's good when you
who
feel like
was
somebody's
that?
really helping
Who
out.
was that? That was
Faye.
No,
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 not Faye. No, it
No,
was Yoshi.
Yeah,
Yoshi.
Yoshi hasn't run with us
Yoshi
for a while,
Iron.
and oh,
Yeah, it's like we go to do gear, and it's like, does anybody need this? Yoshi. Does anybody need this? Yoshi.
Well, yeah, and I was trying to do loot, and I was like, all right, well, this is a piece of gear that nobody's rolled on in weeks, so I'm not even sure if I should put this one up necessarily, kind of thing. And then I was like, well, I'll put these ones up. And then, like, Yoshi was like, she needed all of them. But unfortunately, she came in late, so she couldn't have those pieces
Yeah.
of gear that I posted there. But, it was like, I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, she got pretty well geared up
actually,
on Friday night.
there's the one time you actually linked 3 at once. Nobody wants these, right? And it was like, yeah, I'll take the package deal.
She took all 3, but she couldn't
Yeah, or
take 2
tried
of
to,
them because she came in late and she wasn't there for those bosses. So what's the boss right before
Elisand.
Gul'dan?
Elisand.
Elisand. Yes. So I thought it was funny after all those times we kill Elisand. Tap goes, I still don't get the bubble thing.
Yeah, the bubble's a little bit iffy every now and then.
So
Yeah.
all those other times, what has she been doing? She must have
I
been
think
like
she's healing
jumping
her heart
over
out.
them.
She's not
Yeah,
looking at those bubbles.
probably.
Yeah, she's just been listening to GTFO and running.
Sorry,
Oops,
Tap.
shouldn't
We
be
know
here.
you're not
Shouldn't
feeling
be there.
well.
Shouldn't be. Yeah, she's not here to defend herself. So let's.
It is a little tricky still, but the thing that I think most of the folks are like that have started getting used to the bubble. The one thing that they keep forgetting is that those bubbles keep traveling across the room, and they get to the other side, and
And here they come.
and then they start plowing through the group, and I'm like, oh, you guys, look out, they're plowing through you, and they're like, man, they're like getting tons of damage. And I'm like, oh, just move.
Yeah, the gear scores are getting high enough now, and the item levels are getting up there, where now when it hits, it doesn't hurt as much. I've
Right,
noticed
that's
that because when we were doing Elisand, I went through it a couple of times. I could have swore there was a path there. The next thing I know, it's But
And that
And that's-
works to our detriment though, because that's when people get a little lax and just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it didn't hurt me before," and then it just one shot you.
yeah, well, like the laser beams with Croesus. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Those on heroic are killers.
I-
I swear to
I-
God. I swear to God, I was on. It came down the right side. And I was on the right side, and I went, "Oh, go to the left." And I swear to God, I got so far over, and it still killed me. And then I moved my camera straight up above the bridge and looked, and I was right dead center.
Yeah,
And it's like-
there was one part in there where like I was standing, I saw the beam coming, and it's called a fell beam, by the way. I saw the fell beam coming, and like I look over, and you're standing over there, and I'm like, move, and I saw you start to like twitch, and then the beam hit you, and I'm like, oh, but you didn't die, luckily, but.
Yeah. Well, I had
Or
full
like with
health
the fell orb when we were all yelling at you to get out of the
to
group.
move, and I don't know what happened. I was like, my mouse was just like gone, and it wouldn't let me run anywhere. I'm just standing there going, "What's going on?"
This is a bad weekend for you, tech-wise.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
so great for me either.
So yeah, speaking of that, so my I found out that it was my streaming software that was giving me issues. So I changed streaming software, and of course had to play with it a little bit. So if you watch Saturday's stream at the 1 hour mark when we take our break, shortly after that, I change up a few more settings on the streaming software so it looks a little better the last hour. I went and looked at it after it was done, and the first hour was like, oh God, I wouldn't want to watch this.
Yeah, it was very choppy. It wasn't
yeah.
playing smooth.
Yep. So I got it somewhat worked out. Hopefully this next weekend I'll have the last of it worked out, and it should be good to go. But yeah, I updated. I've got a NVIDIA card, and I updated. Every time they throw up hey, you got to upgrade, or on your video drivers, I went ahead and did it, and then my broadcaster just was like, nope, because my sound went out, my broadcaster, everything. I mean, it locked me up. WoW shut down. It was like, ugh. So I switched broadcasters to a new one, and it seems to be working a lot better. So we shouldn't have that problem. So yeah, go look at our live stream. It's on the YouTube page. We still have our Facebook page, facebook.com/Lions Pride Tavern, and put any comments or questions you have there. Didn't get any this week, but we do have something very interesting that I know Dordon's been chomping at the bit to talk about, so we're going to let him talk about that. So the huge news for the Beastmaster Hunters. Dordon, you want to talk about that?
So yes, big news, Beastmastery Front. Something that Beastmasters have been begging for since the alpha of Legion. The effect that the shoulders give, the legendary shoulders right now, is now being added as baseline for the 7.2.5 patch. So every Beastmaster out there, regardless if you have the shoulders or not, are going to experience the joy that is these shoulders. These shoulders make the spec play so much more dynamic. It's not nearly, how would I say, boring. You know, there's not the big waiting periods and stuff like that, and there's actually more of an engaging gameplay with the shoulders, and they're going to be adding that baseline to the Beastmasters, and the shoulders are going to be getting changed to increase the proc chance of Wild Call. What Wild Call does is it, when your auto shots critical strike, they have a 20% chance to reset the cooldown on Dire Frenzy. So basically, with that, the more crit you have, the more your Dire Frenzy, your Dire Beast is going to reset. And if you can, throughout the fight, if you can keep your Dire Frenzy, like I use, at 3 stacks, that's a huge, huge DPS increase. And so it's all around better for the spec. I mean, it might make the shoulders less valuable, but the spec is going to be all around better for it.
Well, no, the way I understood it is you're going to get, instead of it being passive, you're going to get 2 times using it, and if you have the shoulders, it gives you a 3rd time. Is that correct?
No. What it is right now the shoulders give you a 2nd charge on your Dire Frenzy or Dire Beast. I keep saying Dire Frenzy because that's what I use. And all the hunter community has been asking for them to add 2 charges to that since they started making the expansion. And they finally did it. And what they're doing, because they did want to nerf the shoulders, because the shoulders were powerful, but what they're ending up doing, or what they were originally going to do, was they were going to nerf Wild Call, and that was going to lessen the value of the shoulders. Well, now they're making the 2 charges baseline, and the shoulders are actually going to be able to increase your wild card chance. I think they said it was going to go up to something like 40%. What they were talking about for 7.2.5, this is coming directly from the Blue Post. It says, to start, we are reverting all 7.2.5 changes we've made so far as to how Wild Call triggers. Instead, Dire Beast and Dire Frenzy will have 2 charges baseline. The Mantle of Command will be changed to instead further increase the proc chance of Wild Call.
Yeah, so it's going to give it a 3rd.
It's not going to give it it's not going to give it a 3rd charge. It's just what Wild Call does is it just increases your chance for your auto shot crits to give you, or to reset your Dire Frenzy or Dire Beast.
Oh, okay.
So
but
you're going to get
2
more
charges of it.
Yes, you're getting 2 charges of it baseline.
That'll be cool. Well, hopefully that'll help out the Beastmaster Hunters a little bit.
It's going to make the playstyle a lot more dynamic. It makes it a lot more fun. It's not like with now, if you don't have the shoulders, you've got periods where you're just sitting there doing nothing for a very long time, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? But you've got to wait for the focus to build back up or whatnot, and this really fills in the gaps. It makes it a much more fun spec to play, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, it almost sounds like it'll allow you to have more focus to play with then.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, okay. Very cool. All right. So, last podcast, Jobui spouted off that mages have a mailbox in their
We
class
do.
hall. And so we said, all right, we're going to research this for you fans out there, and we're going to tell you all of the class halls that have mailboxes in them. And guess what we found out? Jobui?
None of us can say anything.
Well, as it turns out, druids have had a mailbox for quite a while, and then for some reason, Blizzard gave mages a mailbox and nobody else. That's that's basically what I've surmised on that, or what we've surmised on that, is that only mages got a mailbox, and good luck to all the rest of you.
Well,
I hope you get a mailbox
That's
soon.
not entirely true, though, because Pallies kind of sort of have one.
And how's that?
But it's
Well,
not in your
because
class hall.
It's like at the roof of our class hall. It's a bit peculiar. So, in fact, I hadn't thought about it till we were talking about this last week, and then I realized, oh yeah, the class hall is for Pallies is an Eastern Plaguelands, so Light's Hope Chapel, down below. And so, if you run up a ramp, you're kind of going out of your way a little bit. In fact, quite a little bit. But you go up the ramp to the top, out of Light's Hope Chapel. What have you got outside but a mailbox? So. Yeah, there's one there, but it's quite a hike. It's probably takes as long to run up there as to portal back to Dalaran, but it's right adjacent to the class hall, if that counts.
No, see, that's the thing that I was thinking about. Was we were talking about that at one point. That basically, I mean, for the Mage Hall, we have a portal right there to Dalaran, and when we go through the portal, there's a mailbox, like literally like a meter or two away from where we portal in, and they've put a mailbox in the class hall that's a meter or two away from where we portal into our Mage Hall. So it's really super convenient to get to our mailbox.
Yeah, it's like
I-
right on the walking
Well-
path, right where you go all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
Do-
right there to our left.
Do the other classes have, like the hunters? Because I don't have a hunter that can get into the lodge. Do you have a way of just teleporting into Dalaran?
There is
Yes.
a portal at the top of the stairs
Oh,
inside the
okay.
lodge.
Yes.
So then it's everybody can get a mailbox in Dalaran.
Yeah, because as long as you're portaling back to Dalaran at some point, there's that mailbox. You just walk out onto the street and it's right there. So,
No, isn't
There's
isn't
also
it
one on
funny,
the
though, that,
corner at the flight point.
yeah. But you
But-
have to. But if you literally portal in, you're gonna go where everybody else is. Even if you set your stone to your Dalaran stone, your Hearthstone, and you start right at the bottom of those stairs that go up to the flight point. If you just walk forward out into the street, there's one right to the left. So really, anybody who can portal out, it's right there. But the hunters then have to go up to the flight point, get on their bird, and fly all the way back to their lodge. Then leave their bird flight point to run all the way into their lodge to do anything. Where the mages, they portal into their class hall and step to the left, if I might say, and there's a mailbox.
you're very practiced at that, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, but it's not that bad getting back to the Hunter's Lodge, because I mean, it shows you like flying off the flight path there, but then it like jumps you straight back to the lodge. It's not like you have to wait for like 3 or 4 minutes while it flies you all the way up to High Mountain.
That's very true, unless you're the dumb hunter that always took the flight path there to begin with before it knew there was another bird that took you there.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing the hunter was guilty of this.
Yes.
Mm.
I'm getting that impression myself.
For several expansions, or not expansions, for several weeks, I was like, why is it that the hunter has to spend money to get to their class hall and everybody else gets to portal somewhere? Well, they don't.
Surprise.
They get to do it too.
Isn't
Oh,
life
I-
so much easier now, though, for you?
Oh yeah.
I just wish
now
the
I'm
eagle
jealous
didn't
of the
disappear
mages.
into nothingness. I wish it was like it flew outside of Dalaran and then it was like a warp effect or something,
I
instead
think
of
what
just
they should
disappearing.
have, because we're hunters, they should have a giant trebuchet right there, and we get on it and it just shoots you like an arrow.
There we go.
That would be cool.
It would be cool. It is historically every class has been jealous of mages'
And
ability.
druids.
Well, yeah, but
And druids, yeah.
yeah, and druids, but I'm talking specifically of just our ability to teleport and get around in the world a lot quicker. You know,
Yes.
that is like above all, that is the thing that most people want that the mages have is the ability to travel wherever we want to go a lot faster.
You
I
know,
just comfort myself with my massive damage.
I have to admit, I used to sit in Stormwind and yell out, mage portals, 10 gold, mage portals, 10
I
gold.
made some gold that way,
I've made
especially
some,
during events.
yeah,
Yep.
I've made some really good gold. Like, in fact, not long ago there was that puzzle that got solved for the that Riddler worm mount that came up, and people were going all over the world to try and get this mount from an old puzzle that had been solved finally. And I was at one of the locations, and people were like, "Oh, I need a portal to Stormwind." And there were people that were there that were like, "Oh no, I'm just gonna portal out." And I was like, "Yeah, you know, just whisper me for an invite, and I'll portal you out." And I made like 5,000 gold in about 30 seconds. People just started like opening the trade. I didn't ask for any gold. I just was like, "Whisper me for a port," and then people just started like trading me gold. So I was like, "All right, I'll take gold," and they're giving me like 500, 1,000. I'm like, "Well, all right." You really wanted to get to Stormwind, I guess.
Gold
A
burning
lot
a
of
hole
people
in
are
your
just
pocket.
slinging gold like crazy right now.
Oh, yeah.
I wish, because my tune is an engineer, and I wish that I could make more money off being an engineer, but I really don't want to lose the skill because engineering does have other benefits besides making gold. But I mean, just gold making is crazy right now.
Yeah.
Well, I listen to several podcasts now that we're doing a podcast, and I want to do a shout out to the Goblin Goldcast podcast. Those guys, there's two guys there, and I didn't even think of this stuff, but because everybody's moved on to Legion, the people who are still coming up in the world are still paying a fortune for the stuff from Pandaria and Draenor. And these
Really?
guys are actually, part of their podcast is showing you how to make gold on the older stuff.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, on the auction house still, because now that Draenor took away the instant gold champion guys, where I made
Yeah.
literally hundreds of thousands of gold by having 12 tunes with 10 people with all gold. I mean, it was ridiculous the amount of gold I brought in.
Yeah, I made a lot of gold that way too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but since they took it away, these guys are saying, but they're still out there. There's still people looking for, the what is it, the chaos crystals, and not chaos crystals. That's not what it is. Something. It's an orb, chaos orb or something. That are still hard to get, and they're going and farming them and then selling them. It's just like, I would have never thought of going backwards and selling stuff. I'm always trying to sell the stuff that's current. Get the mats to do the potions because the potions are selling for 3,500 a pop. Stuff like that, and they're going backwards and doing it. Amazing.
Well, and also with like the old transmog stuff, I haven't been doing it as much anymore, but going and running old raids and stuff like that, and the BOE stuff, people will buy that up just to get their transmog
Just the
collection built
transmog.
up.
Yep, that was the other thing they mentioned was transmog gold making. They don't do it as much now, but they do a little bit. One of the two of them does it quite a bit, but the other one doesn't. It's kind of interesting listening to them. So if you guys haven't heard it, it's the Goblin Goldcast podcast. It's an excellent. I found it on Realm Maintenance, who are the ones that did the interview with us. So yeah, if you're looking for ways of making gold in this expansion, go listen to them.
Free Warcraft.
Yeah, cloth
Yeah.
is always good. I haven't had time to get back to my farm, but you can sell that wind wool. That sells pretty well.
Yeah. Well, like I said, all that stuff that was harder to get, that back in Pandaria and Draenor, and those are still hard to get apparently. So when everybody moved on to the new expansion, it kind of left a void. So interesting stuff. So 7.2. Let's talk a little bit about that. Flying. First off, I have to admit, and I'll start off, I do not have my flying yet.
Ooh.
What?
Yep. Now, hold on. I want to say though, the rep for the Army of Legion Fall I got before I completed all the quests in Suramar.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't done. When I got my tune up to 110, it was right before Suramar. I think I just started Suramar, just opened it up, and I hit 110, and I just left. So I haven't done any of the quest lines, but I went and finished all the other quest lines everywhere else. Now I'm working on the Suramar quest lines, and thank God my wife has flying, because I wouldn't be trying this if I hadn't. It's not hard to do because the quests, they're 110s, but with my raid geared Beastmaster Hunter, I can walk in and, it's a gold elite. Oh, okay, I can take that down one shot.
Oh,
So,
that's
so
easy.
you didn't have Pathfinder Part 1 done?
No,
Then?
no,
Oh.
I didn't have Pathfinder Part 1 done.
Oh man.
The
Jeez.
rep, I have all the rep left to do. I've done rep. What is there? 6 of them. I've got 2 of them done, and the others are all. I mean, they're really close. They're like 75, 85% of to reaching from honored to.
Huh. You're gonna get some sweet artifact power when you do that, though. Some of those
Oh, yeah.
did some great stuff before, but now
Yeah.
with your knowledge, that's gonna be a huge.
Oh yeah,
bump.
those last quests.
The last
in
couple
Suramar,
quests are massive.
you're gonna get like 20 million artifact power plus when you get, it's gonna
That's
be
what I'm
massive.
saying. That's why I said, hey, I just got my last Paragon rank in the new one because I went up 2 levels. I mean, and it's
Oh,
like
my.
28 million gold or 28 million artifact power each, and I went up twice just this last weekend.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So-
got to be some sweet artifact power.
Yes. So I still don't have flying. How's everybody else doing? Lorelei, did you get yours?
Oh, yeah. I got it last week, Tuesday of last week.
Okay, because I know
Maybe the
Joe
week
Bowie did.
before. I think I've had it for 2 weeks.
Okay, because I know Joe Bowie got his, and Epistle got his just like last week. And then I wasn't sure about you. How about
And I was
Dordn? You
away
got
for a
your
week
flying?
too.
Yeah,
I've had mine for a couple weeks now, and I've been working on getting the rest of the reputation. I'm up to 12,360 of 21,000.
Nice.
To get the Exalted, because with the Exalted, once the entire quest line is up, which I believe is another 5 or 6 weeks, then if you have the Exalted, you'll be able to get your quest to do the class mount.
I've heard that they took away the requirement for Exalted for that.
Yeah,
Oh, I
that's
hadn't
what
heard that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I've heard that they
Wow.
took away the requirement for Exalted to get the class hall mounts, to get that quest line. It's just a matter of waiting till the quest line opens up.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I'm
there-
kind of
be
slowed
there.
down on getting the
I'll
reputation
usually be
anyway.
sold before that.
Yeah, I'm at like 7,000 in towards Paragon, my first Paragon with the Legion Fall at this point. There is one thing I'd like to mention though about the rep with the armies of the Legion Fall. I figured out that, or I found this thing. I'm sure other people know about it, but do you guys remember the Aurelius Whispering Crystal from Warlords of Draenor, which was it was a mission that came from the inn in our garrisons, that if you went and did this dungeon and you did the requirements for it, then you would get the Aurelius Whispering Crystal, which was a reusable item with I think a 15-minute cooldown that increased your strength, agility, or intelligence and stamina by 100 for 1 hour. It counted like it was like drinking a flask. Do you guys remember that item?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there is
In
a
essence,
new
like
item.
a replacement for the agility, strength, and runes.
Right. Yeah, but this was just like it's like a use it anytime you want flask that is nowhere near as powerful as a normal flask, but it was nice to have,
Yeah,
when you're
useful
out
out in the world. Yeah.
questing and dungeons and stuff like that, where it's not necessary, but it's nice to have that boost. There is a new item that comes from. All right, there's these 2 vendors that are down in the Broken Shore at the main base. And there's the one that sells all the relinquished tokens, and then there's the other one that sells the Dauntless tokens. But that one that sells the Dauntless tokens, if you have Revered with that, you can buy an item, some fell infused something or other. I forget the name of it right offhand, but it costs 7,500 Nether shards, and it gives you 500 points to your primary stat, intelligence, agility, or strength, and then it gives you 750 to stamina. So it's like the Aurelius Whispering Crystal, but it is a newer, updated one that gives you more stats. That's like a little, every 15 minutes you can use it, and it lasts for an hour. And if you're out questing, or if you're going to do a dungeon, like a heroic dungeon, and you don't want to use a flask, you could use that and get a little extra boost. It's a nice little item to pick up.
Well, I have to admit that I went down there in that little cave, and I had 10,000 Nether shards, and I did the stupid boxes, bought the keys, and I have 200 Nether shards now.
You wasted them all?
No.
I did.
You gambled
10,000.
them all.
Keep you away
And
from the casinos. Oh,
I
my.
know. And it was just like, oh, I've lost so much. I got to keep going just to try to relinquish some of this. And yeah, I shouldn't have.
I got 3,000 from one of those boxes the other day. I just wait until I get the quest.
Yeah,
This
the
was a quest.
freebie or the cheap one.
Yeah, it costs 100 Nether shards to get a key. When you get that it's a world quest basically, and you get a key for 100 Nether shards. And I only do that one. I don't ever buy them for 2,000. And I
Yeah.
got 3,000 from it, and I was like, hey, that's a nice bonus.
Yeah, the most I ever saw was 1,000 out of the boxes. I didn't see more than that. I know there's a possibility of getting up to 4.
I've seen on Reddit where somebody claimed they got 100,000, and I saw a screenshot of it. It didn't look doctored. They got 100,000 according to what I saw in the screenshot. But the best I've gotten is about 3,000.
Yeah, I've heard of 4,000 religiously that it happens, but I've never heard over that. But yeah, I gambled it all away.
Well, I just bought myself one of those fell focuses because that seemed like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to have,
Mhm.
and you could have had 2 relinquished, items to fill in your gaps on your armor there with that 10,000 that you blew away on gambling there.
Yeah, I know. Those were 7,500, right?
No, they're 5,000.
Or 5,000. See, I
yeah,
didn't see that. I didn't see that in there. I saw there was something for 20,000.
No.
Then 70.
You gotta. It's
Oh,
the person up next. There's 2 vendors that are right up there, right near where you fly in. They're just down
not
from
down
where you
in
fly
the
in.
cave.
No, they're not
Yeah,
down from the cave. They're
it's
where the board is, where you donate money to whatever building's going to be in
All right.
next.
So that's my wife's fault because I was asking her where that was at, and she
oh
said it was in the damn cave.
No,
So I finally
they're
got
like
it opened.
they're like 10 meters behind. Like if you're standing at that little podium or that little drafting board where you can donate money to building the building, or not donate money, donate Legion Fall resources to building the buildings.
Right.
If you turn around, they are like about 10 meters in front of you.
and they're often a little shiny. So it's War Mage Kathleen is the one that you can buy it from, and then her next door neighbor is Thaumaturge Vashreen.
Yeah, and
and
Thaumaturge is
he-
the one that does the relinquished, I think, right?
Yeah,
He's an ethereal, I think that's how you say it.
Ethereal.
Ethereal.
Yeah, ethereal.
Yeah. All right. So 21 years, and my wife steers me wrong again.
Oh no.
that's
You know-
the third time now.
Yeah.
I
that's the
gotta
third
wonder
time.
though, was it on purpose? Like
Well, okay, so after our last podcast, I was asking her about it. I was like, where is this cave? So she takes me to the tree. There's the rope, but it's not lit up for me because I'm not far enough in the quest line. Well, I got that today to where it sent me there, and it gives you the free key. And so I was like, oh, this is it. Yay, all right. I'm going to get all this. But, oh, you must have to get them out of the boxes. So I better just spend all my Nether shards on the boxes.
With
Now,
him throwing the blame, what you're not going to hear on the podcast is the sound of the rolling pin hitting his head.
Yeah.
She's already making comments upstairs, but I'm cutting the mic off.
I'm thinking she's just gonna roll her eyes.
As much as I give you a little bit of crap for blowing your money on those chests or your nether shards on those chests, I've gotten so many of those relinquished relics now. I think like somewhere around 15. All three of my relics in my frost weapon are relinquished relics, and every time I hit 5,000, I buy another one, and I roll the dice. I'm like, is this gonna be a better one? No, it's not.
No.
So all but 3 have been, like
All right.
I don't even know how much that is. It's a lot.
Well, after the podcast, I'm going nether shard hunting.
Well, there is a invasion going on right now in Balshara.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is that time. Time for cue the music. It's Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hey, today's Broken Shore Pet Tamer I'm going to talk about is Sissix. And you can use a leveling pet with this boss. It'll take a little bit of time, but it's worth it. Your leveling pet should be at least at 100, or at 1,000, 1,000 health. In your second slot, use a health breed Emperor Crab with Surge, Healing Wave, and Shell Shield. In your third slot, use a Speed Rabbit if you've got one, and most rabbits are, but make sure you have one, with Scratch, Dodge, and Burrow. When the fight begins, start with your leveling pet. It doesn't matter which attack you use, just use any one, and then after that attack, switch out to your crab. Use Shell Shield, followed by Surge, and then Healing Wave on cooldown, and then fill in between with Surge. And this is going to take a while because you're going against another aquatic pet with Healing Wave, but your crab should stay alive through the first pet. Just keep using your Shell Shield to stay ahead of the game. And when you take out the water pet, your next pet will be Tia, Mia, and Larry. That's the name of their heads. Each one has a name. Start off with Surge. Don't worry about your Shell Shield anymore because the poison damage that Tia, Mia, and Larry do aren't going to help you at all. So just keep using Surge and Healing Wave until your crab dies. Then you can pull out your rabbit and use your Scratch attack. We'll finish off Tia, hopefully, if he can do that. And then use Dodge, followed by Scratch, and keep going with Burrow off cooldown. And you should be fine, and you've got a pet that's probably leveled up. And that's your Pet Minute for today.
Awesome. Getting deeps with JoBui.
One of the best ways I've found to help me improve my DPS is by having a DPS meter add-on installed, such as Details, Recount, or SCADA. My personal preference is Details, but I would suggest trying out all 3 to see which one you like the best. The obvious way that a DPS meter helps is by giving you a good idea of how much DPS you're doing at any one time. That's great, but we can take that a step further. Look for other players in raids, LFRs, or dungeons that are playing your same class and spec. If they're doing more DPS than you are, click on their name in the DPS meter and take a look at where their damage is coming from so you can compare that to your own. If you see that they're getting a significant amount more damage from a particular spell or ability than you are, that might clue you into the fact that you're not using that spell or ability as much as you possibly could during the fight, or perhaps you're not using that spell in conjunction with another spell that improves its damage output. And while that won't necessarily give you all the information you need to improve your DPS, it will give you some insight as to what you could do differently. Reread the description for that spell or ability, look at some of your other spells and abilities and see if there's any interaction from them with the one you're trying to improve. Try searching Google and see if you can find information that gives you some ideas about how and when to use it more effectively. You might also want to look that player up on the WoW Armory to see how their gear compares to your own, or what talents they're using. You might notice that they have a particular trinket or legendary that is helping them get the numbers they are. They might be stacking more haste or crit than you are. Finally, don't be afraid to talk to other players that are outperforming you. While some players might not be willing or able to help, Many would be happy to share some of their knowledge with you. Good luck out there, and keep getting those deeps.
Very nice. Epistle, come at me. A tanky
To-
minute.
Today's Come At Me is all about using the right ha button. So, when you're a tank, sometimes you get a huge amount of damage that comes in through a boss ability or some other kind of circumstance that's generally unavoidable. You need to know which button to use at the right time. There's really three basic breakdowns that can happen. You have buttons to protect yourself that will be abilities that will be able to offset either general damage, or you could actually have a couple that might be more specific to block out physical damage or magic damage. It was actually a couple expansions ago, running with Darg, that he was saying, you might want to make sure you're using the magic prevention button during a boss fight, because I was looking at it, read the tooltips carefully, and realized whenever the boss was about to do a big bunch of magic damage, I was hitting the, you guessed it, physical reduction damage, and it didn't help at all. So if you know what kind of damage the boss is likely to do, you're going to make sure that you match that particular ability that's going to offset that kind of incoming damage. Now, in our current sort of configuration, Blizzard has a few more things that do general damage. Pally example, the Eye of Tyr, which is on the legendary shield, will reduce 25% damage, incoming damage from whatever. And that's always handy to throw in just every time you can. There's also a couple other abilities that a Pally has. For example, the classic Bubble, which is a kind of a get out of jail free, and all damage and spells you're protected from. But then there's some that, like, for example, the Ardent Defender, which is a more frequent button, takes about 20% less damage. Not as much, but could be the difference between life and death, like we saw in our raid last night, when I believe Dara got down to, what did he say? It was in the double digits in terms of his overall health, and he
health.
What was how much?
1. He had 1 health left.
What was really hilarious is I knew we were getting desperate, so I threw one of my healing abilities on him, and it's a pretty small one. But knowing which ability, which button to use at the right time, could be the difference between a success or a gruesome tank death. And that's been Come At Me, a tanking minute.
Very nice. 1 health. Can you imagine?
That's when I
what
start
was your
throwing
health?
on bandages, and they're so like, in my guild, they go, "Are you bandaging yourself again?" It's like, yes.
Ice block. It's time to ice block.
Hey, there's been a couple times where I saw somebody was about to die that was critical, and I threw my racial heal at them.
It's nice about being a Draenei, yes.
Whatever works.
It's WFN News, Warcraft Fafford News. So, the day this airs will be the start of Children's Week, May 1st. Yay! We got a week of kids running around. Yay! But there's a lot of cool things you can do with Children's Week. You can get a couple of really cool pets. If you haven't done it, go do it. It's in Stormwind. Pretty cool. Sunday, May 7th is the start again of the Dark Moon Fair. It'll run for a whole week. So don't forget to get down there to the Dark Moon Fair. Now, something that really was shocking. Does everybody remember the new Group Finder add-on that came out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people put that on. Well, according to Blizzard, that caused huge latency and disconnect issues. It really messed up their networks. So that's why, if you notice this last Tuesday, they did a patch, and your Group Finder add-on kind of changed a little bit. That's why.
Oh,
Yeah.
It failed for a couple of days, actually, and I've been noticing a flurry of updates the last 24 hours.
Yes, and that's why Group Finder, whatever it was, really kicked it in, and people were getting wait times and huge latency spikes.
Well, from what I understand, it just was that there was so many people, like, going to different servers from joining groups that it was, like, just overloading that particular part of the server code.
Correct. So what was happening is, when it first came out, as soon as you went into an area, that had a quest that you could do with a bunch of people, it would automatically put you in a group finder and say, do you want to join? But it was already searching. So now it won't do that anymore. You have to click the button and say, I want to join a group. It'll come up with a window, but it doesn't actually start searching. So they cut that feature out. That's because that's what's causing the latency. It's so many. I mean, you consider how many people are playing, and all of a sudden everybody's doing group finder all of a sudden. Yeah, I could see where it really bogged them down.
Yeah, that would be one of those unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
On a non-WoW related note for the news, did you guys see last week where that kid in Germany had created software to cause DDoS attacks? And he got jailed. 2 years of jail time.
Wow.
He was selling them. 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid made this program, and he did it because one of the games made him mad. So he created a program, and he started selling it to people, and they were buying it. He made over I guess it was like $400,000. And they tracked him down, and the world got together and said, look, we're going to make an example out of you. Gave him 2 years of jail time for producing this software that causes DDoS attacks. So
Because
hopefully
you get to keep the money?
No, I'm sure he spent them on lawyers.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't even feel bad for him.
I don't
Not even
either.
a little.
I
Not
do-
even a little bit.
Not even the smallest amount.
No, in fact, I feel better actually.
Yeah. All right, we
If
got
you are
time.
taking a game that seriously, you need to get help anyway.
Well, we can talk about this all night long because I'm going to throw the first thing out there is where was his parents? Why weren't they? I'm a good parent. I started a YouTube channel because my daughter said, I want to be a YouTuber, and I had no idea what that was. So I went, I will find out. As a good dad, I'm finding out. And I monitor what she does, and I created a channel for myself, and, we're doing this together. That's what good parents should do. Not say, here, son, here's a computer. Go do what you do. What? Come on. I mean, he's the overall hackers that I can't stand.
But
So.
griefers, and I consider DDoS attackers griefers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Griefers, die in a fire.
Yep. So we got time for one more thing. We're going to reminisce the past. Dordn, I don't know if you've done this with us. So reminiscing the past is a story or memory of an older area in the world of Azeroth. And this week, we are going to talk about the Timeless Isle. I've always loved the Timeless Isle. I thought it was great. It had that arena in the center that you could join in, and you could join with Hordes or Alliance and go out there and kill those 4 ghost apparitions that were out there, or you could run around the isle, and that was the first time they had the treasure chests all over the place. So, Timeless Isles, reminiscing the past. JobUI, go for it.
Boy, the Timeless Isle, I spent quite a lot of time in the Timeless Isle trying to collect a particular mount that was there.
Ooh.
And I just recall the mass of people that, that's the thing that sticks out to me. I mean, there was a lot of cool things about the Timeless Isle, but just, that there would be all these people lined up with all different kinds of mounts. And then, of course, there's the one jerk who always shows up who has already gotten a mount, who just wants to show everybody else he's gotten it already. And all the people that are trying to get it are like, yeah, guy, we get it. But I remember standing out there with all the other people and waiting for that dragon to come up so that we could all try and get that mount. And, I never got it. I never did get that mount. But I do remember, all the people that would stand around, and there was lots of funny things that happened there. People casting spells and doing lots of emotes and all that sort of thing. But I think that's the thing that sticks out the most for me in the Timeless Isle was hunting down that dragon mount.
Very cool. Lorelai.
I
Sorry.
I enjoyed the Celestial Tournament, the pet battle. That was really fun. And for the most part, I enjoyed questing out there. I wasn't a big fan of the world boss out there. probably just because it was such a pain to get there if you didn't have anyone summoning you. I didn't spend a lot of time out there. I mean, I would do my pet battles and run out there, and I did use the cave. I will say that I did use the cave out there. Got the, I think it was the monkey, and then just never went back to the cave. It wasn't my favorite place in Pandaria.
Okay. Epistle?
I was going to piggyback on Jobui's comment, but mine was more of bitterness, anger, and deep resentment because I had been away from the game. I came back. My wife and I were playing, running through the Timeless Isles, and of course, I'm reading up on what's there and what you can get, and I'm rather keen about getting that mount. And my wife on her tune one time was like, "Oh, this dragon just appeared and attacked me," and she was there when a group of people were there, so she hit it with something. And I wasn't even in range. I think I jumped off one of the sides of the cliff to get some other thing. And so I missed even the fight. And then 10 minutes later, she's like, "Oh, I must have got something from that boss." She got was it the Onyx Dragon?
Oh,
I think
wow.
so, yeah.
She got it like the only time it ever attacked her, or she just happened to stumble upon it, did almost nothing to it and got it. And I was there day after day after day.
So, see, there again, the wife.
It's the luck goes to the person who I think Blizz just favors the people who play less frequently.
I never got a pet or a mount, no matter how, I just got so frustrated after a while, I just stopped going.
I must have spent 20 minutes trying to jump. I did all the treasure chests, trying to jump from that cliffside onto the pillar, onto the next pillar, onto the other pillar.
Jeez.
Oh, I finally got it.
I'm not a good jumper, and that's been since whatever that little raid was down near Astronar on the beach. Can't remember the name of it. And you used to have to jump over broken pieces of bridge to get to where the raid started.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it ever. I'd run, I'd jump, I'd fall in the water, have to come back. And people were going off, and I'm still trying to jump across this stupid piece of bridge. So I hate jumping.
Yes, I call them jumpy games. I cannot stand them. Mario, or Luigi and Mario. Oh, forget it. Dordn, reminisce in the past, Timeless Isle.
Well, I really don't have anything to say about that because I was on break at that particular time. I quit at the end of Lich King, and I didn't really come back until Warlords of Draenor at the very end.
All right. Well, fair enough. I think my favorite part was the stupid seagulls. Riding the seagulls.
That was pretty crazy.
That was fun. Yeah, that was interesting.
I remember the first time I did it, because everybody's lining up on that table. There's like that one table that comes across the arena. And everybody's standing there, and they'd hit the seagull, and then the seagull would come down and grab you. And I mean, it was just like, I'd hit it, and I was like, it didn't take me. Okay, well, and it took somebody else. I was like, all right, well, I'll wait for the next one. And it just seemed like it took forever. And then finally, I get it. And I'm going along, and I see, there's a chest. How do I get off the seagull? So I start hitting it, and every time you hit it, it stopped. And then if you didn't damage it enough to where it would drop you, it would start carrying on again. And you had to stun it. And I missed the pillar that had the chest on it. And that was the first time I'd rode the seagull. So I had to run back, get another seagull, and then I just watched the chest go by. I'm like, I'm not going to try it again. And you get to the end where you have to drop into the water, and I started damaging prior to that because I saw the water coming. And of course, I didn't hit the water. I hit the shoreline right next to it and died. And when you release down below. You didn't release above because I wasn't far enough to where you hit the one that's in that, because you get off in the water and then you jump off into the other one by the waterfall, and then there's a release point there by that tree, and then you can come around to where the world boss is at. But yeah, that took a while for me to figure out.
I died halfway up one of those mountains once. Trying to get my body back was so frustrating.
Oh, Yes. And then trying to walk those stupid tight ropes.
Yeah.
Oh,
When you
the
have a
tightrope.
fear of
Mhm.
heights, you can't do that.
Nope, couldn't do it. I finally did get my wings though, so I could fly across the bridge. That was nice. When you got
Yeah.
the legendary back that gave you the wings. So, all right, everybody, thank you for coming. It's been a great podcast. Thank you, our listeners, for listening to us yak about practically anything that comes to our mind. You guys are the reasons we're doing this, so thank you very much. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks,
See ya.
folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening.